So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name is Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Brian's Run Pod. Hi and welcome back to Brian's Run Pod. Today I thought we'd talk about running training strategies. So let's have a look at the show notes for this week. Well, we'll be talking about setting goals with particular reference to being smart. Understand your body and running level. We'll take lessons from Kenyan athletes about understanding and feeling your body. How to build a solid training plan. We'll look at 5 key areas that will help you decide on developing that plan. Mental preparation and motivation. There's an article by Louise Wilkes that gives us some tips in terms of the mind games to help motivate you. Running in a different environment. How does the environment affect our running? Also, at the end of the episode, we're going to look at what I consider the top running films. So, well, without further ado, let's start. So, setting goals. I know it's not something that most runners might think about, and I'm probably guilty of. However, in a small way, those that are trying to complete the Couch to 5K are doing that. However, have you ever thought about using an acronym SMART to set your running goals? S is specific, M is measurable, A is for attainable, R is for relevant, and last but not least, T is for timely. The concept of SMART goals is often applied in professional settings, but the same ideas can be helpful in running. The idea is to increase your chances of success by setting regular goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. For example, a SMART goal for your marathon might be, I plan to run the LA Marathon on February the 14th in 4 hours, 30 minutes. Or I want to complete the 5K in 35 minutes in 10 weeks. So let's go into each of these areas in a bit more detail. So specific, let's say you want to improve your marathon time by incorporating speed work into your training. Instead of simply saying, I plan to do speed workout this week, make the goal more specific. For instance, you might say, on Wednesday, I'll complete 6 miles worth of mile repeats at my 10K pace. Make your goals specific means that you'll know exactly what to do, how and when. And you'd be more likely to get a meaningful workout if you plan the details ahead of time. It's like you have a contract with yourself, as I sort of put it. Measurable. It's important to know if you've completed a goal or not. That means that the goal has to be measurable. For instance, if you are running intervals, go to a track or a marked path so you know exactly how far you ran. You can also wear a GPS watch to help track distance. In fact, a quality watch is a great investment to ensure you always know how far you ran at what pace during training. Plus, there's some really good training apps will encourage you to complete the distance. It can be very discouraging when you fail to meet a desired goal, so this is attainable. Not everyone will run a sub 4 hour marathon their first time or get up to at 6 a.m. every day to do training runs. Make sure your running goals are large, be it large or small, are realistic for you. That doesn't mean you shouldn't shoot for your personal best or add more workouts to your training. It simply means to be mindful about setting goals. If you've never run in the morning, don't set out to do a 6 a.m. training runs in 1 week. It's important to remember when setting running goals, especially for beginners, to make them challenging yet achievable goals, as you can feel a sense of accomplishment when you meet them. So I used to run quite a bit in the morning about, 10, 15 years ago, but I do, as I've got older, I've kind of got, I like my sleep a bit more. So I tend to run either, if I'm going to run in the morning, then it would be at the weekend, or during the week, it'd be after work. Make them relevant. Just as your goals should be attainable for you, they should also be relevant to you. In with running, this can be an idea applied in a few different ways. For example, just because a particular training plan is popular, that doesn't mean it isn't right for you. And just because a friend is training for a certain amount of time doesn't mean you have to attempt the same. You will be much more motivated to complete the goals you set if they are meaningful to you personally. Timely. Make your goals timely by including a deadline. It's okay to say, I want to get a 20 miler in at some point, but it is more effective to say, I plan to run 20 miles next Sunday. That's if you can run 20 miles, if you're planning to run for the marathon. If your goal has no time frame, you'll be more likely to put it off and risk not completing it at all. And last but not least, I think it's always worth writing it down. An idea might be to write it down and stick it onto your fridge or inside the bathroom cabinet. So, what about the next bit? Understanding your body and running level. Before we lace up our trainers and hit the pavement, let's take a moment to emphasize just how critical it is to truly grasp the intricacies of our bodies when developing a winning running strategy. You see, every running is unique. What works wonders for one might not yield the same results for another. The key lies in knowing your strengths, your limitations, and tailoring your training plan specifically to you. I stumbled upon a fascinating blog by Callum Jones over at Running Trips, and he dives into the training approach for Kenyan athletes. The blog highlights in a recent article from Gavin Smith, a respected coach in Kenya, who sheds light on a profound truth. There's no one-size-fits-all formula for becoming the best running you can be. Even Olympic athletes, each with their own distinctive training methods, can achieve remarkable results in the same event. It's about discovering what suits you. Gavin also stresses a crucial aspect that Kenyan runners excel at. Listening and understanding your body is not just about paying attention, it's about comprehending the language your body speaks. Callum reflects on his own experience during training camp in Kenya, where he gained a profound insight into what listening to your body truly entails. Running is an art of pushing your physical limits to stimulate adaptation and growth. Yes, it can leave you tired, but listen to your body isn't a single signal to stop. It's a call to be aware of your boundaries and the outcomes of pushing them. Some thrive on high volume weeks despite tired legs, while others might benefit from adjusting to intensity or mileage. It's not a simple rest and when tired equation. It's about interpreting signals and fine-tuning your approach. This is where the Kenyan runners truly shine. They've mastered the art of tuning into their bodies and grasping the repercussions of their training. They know when to push beyond fatigue and when to ease up, not through a fixed algorithm, but by understanding their unique responses. He says it takes time and experience, but there are a few strategies you can adopt to fine-tune the skill. I know this can be hard, but occasionally run without your watch. If you have a loop you know, which is roughly 5 miles, for example, or 5k, then do some easy runs around that loop without your watch. You know you've done 5 miles, but you don't know your exact time or pace. It forces you to run according to your feeling rather than the pace you think you should be running at. You can do this with hard workouts too. Maybe get a coach. Well, getting to know your body and your limits in terms of training is entirely personal and learned mainly through experience. An experienced coach is someone who has worked through numerous athletes of varying abilities and may even be someone who was or is an athlete themselves. They won't be able to tell you exactly how you'll respond to certain stimuli without first getting to know you, but they will be able to help you understand the signals you are getting from your body better and help figure out the best course of action based on those signals. Try different things. If in your early stages of training to be better a runner, the only way to know how you best deal with certain signals is to experiment. Figure out how you may respond to rest days, easy days, hard days, increase mileage, decrease mileage by doing it and assessing how you perform. Don't chop and change too much, but you need to give your training a chance. But if one thing doesn't appear to be working, then, well, try something else. Now, how about let's look at how we build a solid training plan. And in this example, we're looking at a base, building that base training plan. And this is something we have talked about before. And if you want to build up a running stamina, prepare for a challenge or a race or the season ahead, there are a few simple steps you could follow. Don't start too strong. The key to successfully building a base for running is to train with enough intensity to boost your fitness, but not train so hard to risk injury or burnout. When you're base training, you should not look to go over 90% of your maximum heart rate. Rather than short, fast runs, keep your long runs long and slow, as that builds the mileage in your legs without you overexerting yourself. Mix the longer runs in with a tempo run or fartlek sessions, or what's called speed play, to work your cardiovascular system and stimulate the fast twitch muscle fibers. Sometimes they're using a heart rate monitor. I find that using a heart rate monitor comes into its own here. Even the cheapest ones will beep if you go over a certain threshold. Build your distance slowly. A training plan helps you to build your mileage slowly and avoid the temptation to be too much too soon. For some runners, building a base can be a frustrating experience, so they want to progress too quickly. But you should always repeat the same distance before moving on to the next and ensure that you have completely comfortable with the distances you're running. We recommend increasing your long run by 1 to 2 miles every couple of weeks. Mix your workouts. During base training, your pace should be conversational, and the vast majority of your weekly workouts should consist of an easy aerobic runs and long runs, where your effort doesn't exceed 60 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. To keep it well below your lactate threshold, or even keep the pace really low, it may seem frustrating in the coming weeks, and I think it's a great way to discipline yourself. Now and again, after a few weeks, throw in a speed session. Train between 4 weeks and 4 months, so it's up to you. Sometimes I do a 12-week training plan for a 10K, sort of slowly building it up. I've done that a couple of times, and you can, as I said, get apps that will help you sort of on that journey to slowly build up the mileage and the intensity. Depending on your experience as a runner, your fitness goals and what you're training for, a base period can last anywhere between 4 weeks all the way up to 4 months. 1 month is the minimum we recommend if you're really serious about building up your running stamina. During that period, your weekly mileage can be as much as 120% of the distance you'd complete during an in-season training, but it should be done at a much slower pace. Those high mileage weeks should be combined with much easier runs when you feel fatigue to ensure you give your body plenty of time to recover. Build muscular strength. There are no fast, weak runners. If you want to achieve your goals, then you should incorporate some strength building work into your base training. Both lifting weights and running fast require the use of muscle fibers. So whether you're planning to run a marathon or a 5K, you should certainly make more time to incorporate some weights. Weight work will make you feel much more powerful when you run, improve your ability to recover quickly, but also both of which are essential for the challenges that lie ahead. Also, and reducing the risk of injury. Now, what about the mental preparation and motivation for your running strategy? In an article written by Louise Wilkes for Running Shoes Guru, she issued 10 top tips to mentally prepare for those runs. She says, number 1, stop freaking out. Looking out week 9 of your training plan when you're only on day 4 of week 1. These plans are made to build you up slowly, and they're magnificent at it, so no need to jump ahead. Stay disciplined. on what is in front of you this week and take it from here. Don't forget to celebrate all the milestones that come with a plan and don't dwell on the up-and-coming distances. Number 2, she says, she finds it really useful to do hill work. Don't look up the hill. Hold a natural, effortless angle towards your feet. Focus on the space for your next step and the next one and the next one until, surprise, you're at the top of the hill. Number 3, she says, first things first, but make sure running in the appropriate kit. Eliminate the internal mental battle right away. Being too hot or cold will make any task feel impossible. The night before, you ensure your kit is ready and laid out. Pack any medication, tape or blister pads, hydration, and pack and snacks galore, whatever. So you're all prepared for the next day. And also maybe use an app to look at the weather for the next day, and that will give you a much more accurate forecast. So, number 4, self-pep talks are great. They're a reason to barter and support yourself like you would a friend just to trying to take on this challenge. Repeat to yourself any mantras or confidence boosting phrases such as your mind gives up way before your body does. Yeah, that can be good. Remember to be nice to yourself. This is no easy feat you're attempting here. So you need to break simply, okay, get to that tree, then you can walk for a minute, keep pushing through. Number 5, she says, training for hours on end can feel boring. If you're doing laps or a route, your mind is so used to surroundings that it switches off. So go and find a new route. And she says, go and get yourself lost before you Google your mapping your way back home. You've got a couple of hours to spare, so just keep running until you're back to the car or back home. So what I do is sometimes if you're on holiday, maybe I find it really motivating is to at least go running on a couple of times because it's a new environment, new surroundings, and it really does motivate you because you're not seeing the same buildings, the same park, you're running along or going along the same route. It's something new. Number 6, the challenge of running a marathon is huge. So pat yourself on the back. I know in the US it says that 1.1 million registered participants do marathon distances, and if maybe it might be less in the UK. So do pat yourself on the back. Number 7, take the long run and decide how to break it down. On a race day or even on multiple marathon events, she says that she had to just get to the next checkpoint every 10K. So instead of 26 miles, it was 4 checkpoints. Or re-tagging a 20-mile run into 4 times 5-mile runs, perhaps. Or even a 10-mile run. You can break that down into 5 every 2 miles. And that will just help break down the run. And also it will give you a little bit of motivation that it's not such a big run. Number 8, entertain yourself. Sometimes running is blissfully peaceful, a time to reflect and to put the world to right. However, after a few hours, I'd rather hear some comedy, she says, tuning into an audiobook or podcast, or maybe your favourite playlist. Number 9, she says she really likes this one. She says, run to the store. I really like this tip. If you're really struggling to get the motivation to leave the house for a weekend's long run, go and buy a new running top, socks, kit, anything, because you'll want to wear it. It's like a new influx of motivation, and it'll probably do it for around 4 to 6 weeks when the training effects take their toll. I recently bought a new pair of running shoes, so and that helps motivate you. Number 10, and I think this is a really good tip. She says, join a running club. If you haven't joined a running club and you are training alone, it certainly doesn't mean you have to race alone, no matter where you are in the world. She says she's found a running community, an incredibly friendly bunch, and there will always be someone wanting to chat and probably go at your pace. So running and talking is a great way just to relax, take the stress out of the racing, the clock, and enjoy the route and the fruits of your months of graft. So, as part of this running strategy theme, the last segment is running in different environments. So we've got trail running, hitting the roads, using the treadmill. So trail running, embrace the natural terrain and adjust your pace. Watch your footing, especially on uneven surfaces, and be prepared for elevation changes. Use shorter strides to maintain control and consider investing in trail-specific shoes for added traction. Now, let's hit the roads. Stay mindful of traffic and choose safe routes. Opt for well-paved surfaces to minimize impact and maintain a steady pace. Incorporate interval training to simulate a varied terrain challenges and build endurance. Also think about the right attire for the weather. Remember that you don't want to overdress before you go out. Further you get into your run, the hotter you'll get. Now, we've talked about this, the treadmill, before. Something we have talked about before, but keep the boredom at bay with entertainment or interval workouts. Adjust the incline settings or mimic outdoor conditions and focus on form. And some treadmills do simulate routes that you can run and will adjust the incline depending on the route that you're running. So a conclusion in that segment would be versatility is key to becoming a well-rounded runner, and the uniqueness of each environment, and to adapt your strategy accordingly. We've come to that part of the show where we're going to be talking about the top running films. Well, I've got a list here for you, and hopefully you'll agree with me with some of them. You may have seen maybe a couple of them. If not, then I do recommend you maybe try and catch them at whatever streaming service or wherever they are. The first one is 100 Meters. Came out in 2016 and it was on Netflix at the moment. Ramon Arroyo is an ordinary man living in northern Spain, and that is until he wakes up one day and can't move. Eventually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, Ramon is told by another MS sufferer that he won't be able to walk 100 meters by the end of the year. And Ramon accepted this as a challenge. He'd do more than just walk 100 meters though. He'd aim to complete an Ironman challenge, which is 2 miles swimming, over 100 miles biking and 26 miles running to finish it off. A great movie, and that shows that human beings can do extraordinary things despite how life tries to stop them. I remember seeing this film and I liked, and like a lot of running films, is truly inspirational. Let's not forget Chariots of Fire. The opening scene alone in this movie is worth a watch. It will make you want to run into the surf with your buddies to the sounds of the memorable score of Vangelis. There's a sensational set piece during the match race around the college courtyard at Cambridge, and you get well drawn and contrasting of the 1924 Olympic heroes. The taciturn and proud Harold Abrahams and jubilant, devout Eric Liddell. But Chariots plays very fast and loose with historic fact and stands up better if you worship all things British. The theme is still being played at road races in the 21st century. It's that good. Running Brave, which came out in 1983, is the small war of elbows between Billy Mills, Mohammed Gamadi and Ron Clark in the 1964 Tokyo Olympics 10,000 metres. Is thrillingly done here with Robbie Benson, far more believable as a roughly half-Sioux distance runner than he was as the pint-sized basketball hero in One on One, which a film which he'd done, I think, in the early 80s. Mills struggles to overcome the stereotypes and fight for the approval of his butt-headed coach, make it even seem more miraculous that he even got to Tokyo. The film's big payoff comes when the coach tells Mills, "That was the greatest race I ever saw a man run." And you think it was too. Have a look at the actual race on YouTube. I've included a link in the show notes. Prefontaine, which came out in 1997. Prefontaine depicts the tragic life and times of legendary runner Steve Prefontaine. The movie highlights his formative beginnings in Coos Bay, Oregon, and his running success while at the University of Oregon, and his relentless quest for Olympic gold in the 1972 Munich Olympics. Race, which came out in 2016, and this drama is based on the true story of Jesse James, who overcame both physical and racial hurdles to compete at the 1936 Olympics in Nazi Germany. The film follows Owen's early success at Ohio State and his personal struggles in realising his running goals. Despite discrimination from his white teammates, Owens persists with the help of his track and field coach, Larry Snyder, and proves to be an Olympic contender. Faced with the potential of the US boycott of the 1936 Olympics and the growing uncertainty of Nazi Germany, Owen's accolades are nothing short of remarkable. Lorena, Light-Footed Woman. I realise that I've chosen films that have been kind of male-dominated. Apologies for that. However, I did come across this documentary film called Limitless, which came out in 2016, about some Indian women runners. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see it in the UK, so I can't give you any kind of review of it. We'll keep an eye out for it. Anyhow, there is one film I have on my list, on my Netflix list, which is called Lorena, and it's about a young woman, I think from the South America, to Tarahumara, and as well known for their extraordinary long-distance running abilities, wins ultramarathons seemingly out of nowhere despite running in sandals. I'm sure there are some that I have missed, so I will no doubt have a review of this list and provide you with some more recommendations. So if you are injured and are not feeling the love for running, then why not put your feet up and get inspired by watching one of these films. Well, it's come to that time where it's the end of the show, and that's it for another episode. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you next week with some beginner hints and tips about running. I just wanted to let you know that you can follow me on Twitter at Brian's Rompod, or I think what is now known as X. And I've just recently set up a Facebook page, which is called Brian's Rompod, and I am on Instagram at Brian's Rompod. Also, my website is www.briansrompod, where you can get show notes, and you can get show notes also on any podcast app you're listening to this podcast on. Plus, all my episodes have chapter markers, so if you do need to get to different segments of the show, then you can do within the particular podcast. Please leave a review, as it will help others find this podcast. Music is Happy Day by Stock Audios, and the background music for the film segment of the show is by Alex Zavessa, and not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson. Before I go, I thought I would end the show with some music by Luke and Matt Thomas, a father and son production. Luke is currently studying music at Swansea, and this piece of music is entitled Zenith and Quasar. I provided a link to the album in the show notes. Excuse me. And as a side note to the album, it is dedicated to Rhesus Cardiff, ITU Cardiff, ITU Birmingham Wards 306 and 726. And looking forward to seeing you, or rather looking forward to another podcast next week. Okay. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Zenith and Quasar.